Your someday starts today. It's time to explore and test the newest science, methods, and trends for creating a life you love with your host, Tanya MFK. Welcome to My Designed Life.
Welcome to My Designed Life, where we bring you realistic ways to create your best life now and then test them to see what really works. I'm your host, Tanya MFK, and I am so glad that you're here. We are here every other week, so make sure to click that follow and subscribe button to be notified when a new show is up. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, My Designed Life Podcast, and TanyaMFK.com. Now, last episode, we met with Nicole Iacovone, a former police officer turned financial therapist. Yes, therapist. There is so much more to managing money than budgets and investments. And 99% of it starts with our stories, beliefs, and relationship with our finances. So Nicole taught us an approach to our money to really look at it as more of a partner. And even further, she showed us how to date our money. And I know it may sound very weird, but it makes sense. We will be with our money until the day that we die, yet most of us go through life knowing little to nothing about it. So my assignment for the week was to have money dates. She gave us a list of 7 date ideas. I let my husband pick, and he chose the idea called a stroll down memory lane. And we answered questions like, what was your earliest money memory? Or what money lessons did you learn from your parents? And so on. It ended up being really fun. I think we ended up talking for about an hour. And my husband had some funny stories, and we learned a lot about where we came from and how our family stories about money really shaped our current beliefs and practices. The other task that I had was to write a love letter to my money. And yes, again, I am very aware of how strange this sounds. And also, again, it was still another powerful practice. You know, we don't criticize in love letters, right? We don't say, oh gosh, I really love you, but you really annoyed me when the laundry wasn't done. And remember that time you forgot to close the door. No, instead, we focus on all the joy and kindness, appreciation, and support that we get from that person. So you can see where this is headed when we kind of flip that to money, right? This practice really changes that mental script and that narrative that we have about our money and made me think differently about it right away. When you're saying nice things, the rhetoric that we have is really common. Like, oh, money, there's never enough, there's this, oh gosh, don't get me started, right? We have those kind of like ready at the whip to say at any time, because this is generally accepted, idea and the way we talk about money. So doing this, a love letter, saying these kind things like, wow, money, thank you for always being there and letting me pay my bills. A lot of times we're complaining about those bills, but this time we're like, wow, that's so great that you let me do that I still have the lights turned on. So guys, this was a really, really awesome episode. If you missed it, go back and check it out. It's really a totally new approach to money with Nicole Iacovone. And now for today's episode, we are talking about that spark, that thing that changes in your life where you see all the potential, where you begin to believe that all things are possible and you give up that doubt of what if I fail and instead replace it with what if I succeed? This is really an incredible story with some inspiration that you can take to use today. So here's our conversation.
Welcome to My Designed Life.
And now for today's guest. An 11-year high school and independent college counselor, she's more than familiar with poor sleep habits and the struggles of getting up and trying to have a productive day. Living with her own vices, she was a fast food drive-thru regular and compulsive dessert devourer. It wasn't until she decided to give up sugar, a seemingly impossible task, that she realized how much it was embedded in her life, as well as other habits that were holding her back. This simple change sparked a new attitude in her life, going from I can't do that to anything is possible. And it led her to create a blog, co-author a book, and document her experience on social media. This single step moved her into a new chapter of her life, pursuing personal growth to conquer anything and everything in her way to design the life she wants. Here today to discuss the key to a productive and successful day, please welcome Allison Braasch. Welcome, Allison.
Hi, Tanya. Thank you. That was a great intro. Thank you.
No,
Thank you.
I love your story and where you've
Thank
come,
you.
because it's really just, I think it's almost this, to me, like a Cinderella story. It's like where we all hope that we get rescued, that this realization comes and just like hits us. And I feel like your thing, you didn't have some like meteorite strike you. You just kind of made this decision. And I think your journey is so interesting. And so I would love to actually start at the beginning. And you say that
Thank you.
you were a fast foodie kind of donut muncher,
Yes.
specifically mentioned donuts.
Yes.
Even inventing reasons to eat more. And I would love to understand, how did you first get from there to, I'm going to give up sugar?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for all the nice things you were saying. I feel like I should have taken notes. Like, that's amazing. Yeah, thank you.
You're like, who is that lady? She's pretty awesome.
Like, that's really awesome. Yeah. Well, it's crazy, in a way to even talk about this, because I have been off sugar now for about 455 days. I know. And I know that sounds crazy that I'm counting, but I seriously, Tanya, felt legit addicted to sugar. Yeah. So I don't mean to make light of recovery, but I keep track of how long it's been so that I know that it's still possible every single day. And when I say I was addicted, it was like my secret shame. I would go after work. I would go between the time I would go leave work and pick up my children. I would hit maybe 2-3 different drive-thrus, and I was doing that multiple times a week. Wow. Multiple times a week. I would start off with Culver's with a large concrete mixer with extra cookie dough, extra Reese's peanut butter cups, a large, with cheese fries. Then I would finish that. Before I picked up my kids, I would then go to Dunkin' Donuts. It's a / Baskin Robbins, get a 2-scoop hot fudge sundae, and I would alter my places so I wouldn't be going to the same ones, back to back days. And it just became this secret shame. Like, I felt addicted, and it's a horrible feeling. It's a horrible feeling. Like,
because you know that it's like not ideal, right? But there was something that just you couldn't stop.
Yeah. And I think, when we go through all sorts of things in life, traumatic experiences, anything negative that comes up in your day, but even basic stuff like boredom, just everyday stress or anxiety, we're looking for a way to zone out and not have to sit through the discomfort of those feelings. Yeah. And that's what I was doing. So I would sit, like the Dunkin' Donuts and the Oberweis, an ice cream place, they were in a strip mall. And I would sit behind the strip mall in my car under this beautiful tree, and I would have my radio on, and I would just zone out. I wasn't even listening to it. I was zoning out from my life. I was choosing for those moments not to be present. That's what we do when we try to escape dealing with whatever we're feeling, whatever discomfort that is. We're looking for a way to distract ourselves. And you know how that goes. That works for the 35 seconds that you're eating it. But when that's over and I would pull out of that parking lot, now I have to, on top of it, deal with the shame of just doing whatever action I took to zone out, And so it's obviously a very unhealthy habit. Physically gaining weight, it's just, I could list all the reasons why it was bad for my body, but emotionally, I hated myself. I love my children, my husband, happy with my job, happy with all my life except myself. And that's how a lot of women, I think it's very easy to get to this point. We can be happy with areas of our lives, but still feel complacent and lazy. And even, I know this sounds dramatic, but even self-hatred toward ourselves, and in your intro, you said that it was like I came and rescued myself. But the reality is no one else is going to do that. Right. Because as much as your partner loves you, as much as that person might be supportive, at the end of the night, they're not going to turn to you and say, hey, babe, are you fulfilled today? Did you do anything to fill yourself up? Are you reaching your goals today? You know what? And Tanya, that's not their responsibility either. Absolutely not. That's great that they're supportive, but that's on us. That's on us. Yes, and really, if other areas of our life are happy, but inside we have this, again, dramatic sounding inner turmoil, that's on us to fix. That's all
Absolutely.
has to fix. So I can tell you my rock bottom moment with the sugar. I'll always remember it. I was dropping my son off at a birthday party. And then afterward, I was going to go help my parents-in-law, like unpack. They had just moved, and the whole family was meeting over there. I was dropping him off. I did all my pleasantries. Bye, bye, bye. I'll be back in however long. In my mind, I'm not even paying attention to the conversation. I'm thinking, where can I go between dropping him off and to my parents-in-law? It's like 10 minutes away. Where can I go to the drive-thru? Which drive-thrus can I hit in the 10-minute span? And I was angry that there was only McDonald's.
Oh my goodness.
Great. And believe me, I made it work though. I still had the apple pies. I still had the hot fudge sundae. But I was like legit angry. And so I'm driving to my parents-in-law, and I just have this, it's kind of like your rock bottom. You realize that no matter how much I had at that moment, it wasn't going to be enough. I was eating that McDonald's and it was having no effect. I realized then that I was going to have to keep adding on and adding on. And that's tolerance. You build up resistance, in an addiction. And I realized no amount was ever going to be enough. And that's when what was that?
Sorry, I'm going to pause just for a second. So this is amazing. So much in there to unpack. And one of the things that I want to definitely come in and say is, in the beginning, you said, I don't want to make light of addiction because of the comparison. But the truth is, and I want to make sure that everyone in the audience hears this, if this is new to them, but sugar actually mimics the exact same responses as addiction.
Absolutely.
And it has been compared very often. So there's no really lessening it. As a matter of fact, I would go far to say to really bring it even higher up there, because it is really one of the most abused things that we have. And
I agree.
Yeah. And just like as we look at like the way that drugs have developed and through the years we go, oh, it's getting, it's different than our grandparents had it, it's more concentrated. Well, that's exactly what's happened with sugar. It is more concentrated. It is more delivered into all the things we have. And then we find ourselves in this situation that you were in, which truly was an addiction, and even down to being upset because you couldn't find it, having those moments. That's just, and it's so powerful. And really the most beautiful point is when you realize it, when you really go, that's enough. So you got to that point and you were like, this is it. We can't do this anymore. So was it like a quick, I'm just going to stop? Did you have some encouragement or what?
I did have a friend who, if I could just go back to what you were saying really fast about the addiction. In one of the chapters in my book, I actually make the case for sugar as an addiction. And I cite different research studies and everything. And then also I have a master's in counseling. And in one of my classes, we go over the DSM for medical diagnosis and everything like that. And I compare in the book, there are, I think, 11 or 12 criteria for cocaine addiction. And I compared my feelings toward addiction to that criteria, and I met over half of them.
Wow.
I met over half of them for sugar. And now sugar, how you said it's different from your grandma's sugar. Well, now, there are 61 different names that sugar is listed under on ingredient labels. So it's almost like you could think you're doing the best of things, but unless you really go out of your way to educate yourself, it can be very difficult. It can be.
Yeah, so, you're going, oh, this doesn't have sugar. It just has dextrose and maltose. And you're like, honey, that's the same thing.
Exactly. But you don't know that, unless you educate yourself. And that was one of the first things I had to do. I had a friend at the birthday party I dropped my son at that day. His mom, I had joked with her about a play date. Oh, my son says you don't let your kids eat sugar. So I brought certain snacks. And that's how we kind of got started. She became like my sponsor. I would text her every day and I would just tell her how I was feeling. She would text me on my first holiday. Hey, tomorrow's the 4th of July. Do you have a plan? How are you feeling? So she became my sponsor. We would communicate a lot, and I had to educate myself with what names and really look at the labels. So that was part of it. And I did go through 3 full-blown relapses. And then, and if anybody has dieted, they totally identify with this. Like, then you go through like maybe a couple weeks where like maybe you start for a day, then you're off for a day, start for a day, off for a day. And then finally for good, September of last year, which brings me to 450-ish days. So I did have relapses, you know, but now what I do is I don't eat anything with added sugar.
Right.
So I'll eat naturally occurring sugar like dairy,
even fruit.
Yes, of course, fruit, you know, and the good thing about that is that most of the fruit has fiber. So even though the fruit has sugar, you have the fiber to slow the digestion.
Yes.
And so
I'm glad you brought that up, because it is specifically fruit, not necessarily a big tall glass of orange juice.
No.
You know, we weren't meant to drink 8 oranges.
Right.
With all the fiber, that's some sugar that we
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's amazing. How wonderful that she was right there in that space and just happened to be that mom who some people roll their eyes at and go, oh God, the no sugar mom. And, you know, and that's the thing. I think with any addiction or situation is there may be people who can handle that little bit, and it's still not ideal, but they can say, I can have that candy bar, I only eat a part of it and put it away. And so you may roll your eye at the mom is like, no sugar in my household, but there, you know, when there are people who need that, we need that structure, we need that thing, and to be aware of where it all comes from. Because like you said, you can absolutely go, well, look, I'm not taking scoops of sugar and putting them in my coffee anymore. I'm only using, you know, agave now. And you're like, that's still sugar. That's
exactly.
Still sugar,
exactly.
So,
you know, you adjust. Now I only have cream or milk in my coffee, and I don't have any sugar, you know, and you adjust.
Well, and your
it's
body
totally fine.
Adjusts. It's really the taste. Now I can say a few things for myself, coming from America and the level of sweetness that is there. Now, if you're American and you're hearing this, you're like, yeah, I get things are sweet. I do too. But I'm telling you now, that someone who lives in Europe, you do not realize the depth of sweetness of things in the US until you come and have a pastry here. So you come and you can see this pastry that looks ooey and gooey and just like sinful. And then you actually take a bite and you're like, well, this is like Wonder Bread. You're like, this actually doesn't have much at all. And then you start to wonder, is it that this has no sugar, or is it that Wonder Bread has so much sugar?
Exactly.
And so like, it's amazing to me how much, even in that simple transition of just where I live, that my sugar sensitivity has changed.
Yes.
And then for myself, I'm not quite 450 days in, but I am now, I haven't kept track as well, but I'm at least 8 weeks, if not more,
good for you,
of no sugar. And it was just kind of by chance. I'm testing out keto. I'm testing out some things, as some of my followers know. But it is, you know, there's those moments where you're like, oh, that looks really good. And then you're just kind of like, but is it better than this other thing that I want? Like this end result, like I can look at a different goal and say, it's not worth that. I'm not worth trading that taste for that in that moment.
Right.
And now, we were having Indian food, and my husband said they got like chicken korma, and no one would think this thing, no one would compare this to candy. But as soon as I had it, I was like, oh my God, this is so sweet.
Yes.
So like, I was so sensitive to it. I was like, I don't want this to taste like candy. I don't want my food to taste like candy.
I know.
So, right. It was so strange. So yeah. And as what you were saying is that you'll adapt. You absolutely will adapt. Your body will start to go like, this is a weird thing. I don't like this. My husband, you know, he's from Europe. The first time he tried honey baked ham, if you guys are familiar with that, he was like, what the heck is this? Why would your ham be sweet? It was the weirdest thing for him, because it's just not how they eat. So you
but then
will adjust.
me hearing that, I'm like, of course ham is sweet.
Right.
Like, right?
That's how it's supposed to be. Pineapples, honey, that's where it was. So it is interesting.
Brown sugar on it, the whole thing.
So how it really changes, and then your taste buds change and your desire change. And I'm sure it doesn't mean that you're like, hate it. You know, I'm sure you're not like, oh, you know, like there are things that they taste, I'm sure things that can taste good, but it's a different appreciation, right?
It's very different now. I mean, we're in the middle of the holiday season, and there are cookies everywhere, donuts everywhere. And like for the holiday, I am making an actual, my son wants this Oreo dirt cake. It's going to have powdered sugar, Oreos, like everything. I'm making it, and I'm not even going to be tempted. I'm bringing pies to the holiday. I'm not even tempted. And to go from secret squirrel in the back of the drive-through eating, to be able to go from that to this and not even be tempted. Like, people hearing this, they might be like, holy cow, how is that possible? It does happen. At the beginning, you do have the withdrawal symptoms. You have the physical withdrawal. So the cravings are there, but those go away pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But remember, we were talking about, we use different methods to zone out, to deal with whatever the discomfort is. So those emotional ties from time to time still pop up. But I'm not tempted though. You could get to that point. It's a process, but for sure you can do it. For sure.
And I know for myself with my short journey so far, when I start to see things, I look at it and I can look and go, oh, that might look good or this. But then when I think of how it would make me feel, and that's not somewhere a way I looked at food anytime before. But now, instead of just looking at how it tastes, I go, how am I going to feel?
Yes.
And then I decide I don't want that feeling. And it's become a whole different mental change. Yeah. So this, you guys are getting a double whammy here, because what we're really going into and hearing the strength of this journey is really that what this did for Allison was this: you conquered and came over something that had you in the grips. And when you started to go through this and go, oh my gosh, like, I just made this huge change in my life, it opened up the floodgates to whole other areas in your life.
Yes.
Right. So you want to tell us a little bit about kind of where it took you and where you are now, and really why you're here today.
So this was the big catalyst to change in my life. You don't realize how much time you're devoting to this addiction or whatever you're using to zone out. Like I said, pardon me, 1 second, cough. Until you give that up. So once I did that, I had so much brain space. I was like so motivated. First of all, I had more energy because I was no longer lethargic from all the stuff I was eating. I was excited. I felt empowered. Mm-hmm. And it was so great that I did that for myself. I empowered myself. And I want to help women see that, like we were talking about, it is on you. You can do that for yourself. And so I felt like I was at this place in my life where anything was possible. And so I wrote the book on sugar, and eventually I'm going to try to get that published. But it was a way for me to chronicle the journey, so I wrote the book on sugar. I became an independent college counselor on the side because I am a full-time counselor. And then what I was doing essentially was following my spark. And that's what my company name is. Follow your spark. Because when we go on a personal growth journey, a lot of people ask, what are your goals? What are your dreams? And you might feel stuck because you might not even know what they are. Yeah. And we allow ourselves to sit in the not knowing. But again, we're responsible for figuring that out. Mm-hmm. And you're not going to figure that out until you start taking the steps, because you won't know right away. So it's an evolution. And that's why I always tell
people, sorry, I was going to say, that's why I always tell people that, like, it's not enough. You can't find out where you want to go until you understand where you are. Right. And so if you're ever like getting directions and you're like, well, I'm just trying to get to the stadium, and they're like, well, where are you? I don't know. Nobody can tell you how to get there.
Nobody can help you.
So if you don't know where you are, that helps you clarify where you want to go. And then support will kind of manifest itself. You'll start to see it come out. So I'm sorry, you were saying, and that's how you end up calling it.
Follow your spark. Yes. You listen to that inner flare that excites you, and you follow the excitement. That's why I call it follow your spark. And then my tagline is embrace the butterflies to unveil your dreams. Because along the way, it's gonna feel icky. You're gonna probably be insecure the whole time, but you have to be willing to go through the butterflies, because along the way, those dreams are going to start coming to you that you never even knew you had. So when I wrote the book, I realized I really enjoy writing. So my thought process was, well, while I try to get the book published, I can still write every week by starting a blog. And so that's what I did. And I had my kickoff party in June, and I write an article every single week. And they're all about topics to help women overcome their insecurities so that they can pursue their dreams. So some of my fields of expertise are giving up sugar, my morning routine, which we'll talk about, body positivity, goal setting and empowerment. But we can't talk about all that stuff without talking about how those things impact our relationships, because we don't exist in a bubble. If you change up your entire life, hello, that's going to affect your husband. So I talk about all things relationships too, because all those things go together. They all go together.
Yeah. And it can be a huge roadblock for people to making that change, or to even seeing that they're capable of making that change. Working in that same arena with people working towards goals and creating strategies for them, that their environment is usually the first roadblock, whether it's in business or family. And they may, and even if they've convinced them for themselves that they can do this, they can create it, they still have that, yes, but my kids aren't going to eat it, or my family's not going to want that, or my husband isn't supportive, whatever the situation is. So addressing that is absolutely number one, because we really are our environment, and it does produce so much. So it's hard for us, willpower. One of the things that I'm a huge believer is that willpower isn't necessarily what works. It's creating an environment that supports you, because willpower works like a muscle. Eventually it's going to get tired out. And so if you're constantly putting yourself in a situation where you're, pushing against the waves, growing up in California, I'll tell you right now, eventually one of those waves is going to knock you on your butt. And, so if you support an environment, for this example, maybe stay on the sand for a bit, you're not going to get knocked over by those waves. Like, you create an environment that support yourself, that support it. And you need that. So a lot of people think, well, it's okay, I'll just push through. And in some circumstances, you may need to start that way. But being able to see what your real choices are, and having someone walk through the relationship aspect, and again, relationship doesn't have to be like romantic or kinship. It can be with your colleagues. It can be with your
friends,
who you're hanging out with, girls' night out, wine and French fries. All of those environments exist. So I love that you address that, because it's one thing for, like you said, for us to get excited and empowered and like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And then we come up and we're like, but I'm surrounded by all these walls that I love. So that's,
and it doesn't mean it's, if your immediate circle doesn't support it, or is fighting back, like pushing back for whatever reason, it doesn't mean it's impossible. But let's be honest, it makes it incredibly more difficult to be successful,
Exactly. And it also doesn't mean that it has to be cut off. It just means that you have to work around what environment will support you. And that's a huge part of getting through those goals. It's one thing to have the goal. It's another thing to have the strategy. And it's a third thing to have the backup plan, which is what I love you mentioned earlier, that she called you and said, okay, tomorrow's 4th of July. What's your plan? Because what you could have done is use willpower. You show up and you're like, I'm just not going to do it. I'm just not going to do it. I'm just going to do it. And like I said, there's part of that works, but eventually that muscle, it can get tired.
Absolutely.
But if you have a plan, if you've already thought about when this comes, and when I'm in that moment, and when I'm feeling weak, I'm going to do this. And this is an amazing thing. I talk about this a lot in visualization, is that, and any of you who are, visualization sounds woo-woo. I'm telling you right now, you all visualize, you just don't realize it. You call it worry. You make up your own imagination of all the bad things that can happen. So when she's creating and thinking about 4th of July and going, what am I going to do in that moment? She's creating the scenario and the solution. So what she's done is she's told her mind how to experience it. So when she does it the next day in reality, the brain is like, oh, we've done this before. And it's like already knows, like this. It's so powerful to not only have the plan, but have the, the oh shit plan, excuse my language, but that's, it's like the whole, holy crap, what do? I messed up. Having that plan is so powerful. So going from there, you're conquering all kinds of areas. You have your blog, you're talking about things. And so one of the things we're talking about today is really going into taking power of our mornings, which is a huge struggle for people. And also not only a struggle, but because it's so common, I also feel that it's our environment and society in general, we all kind of give ourselves the okay to be like, yeah, we know it's hard sleeping. Like it's okay.
Hit snooze.
Yeah, everyone hates Mondays. That's fine. And so we make it okay because it's hard for all of us that it's okay to just continue that way. So tell us, where are we now?
I am so excited about this. In February, I am launching my first online course it's called Your Power Hour, Your Master Plan for Creating and Conquering Your Morning Routine. And I have a masterclass coming out, a free masterclass right before that. And one of the pillars of success is exactly what we're talking about. Having a plan, having that backup plan, that perfectionism. And so I love that we're talking about this because it's so ingrained in the success of a morning routine. I love that. And in my online course, in every module, we're going to do a family check-in. Like, how is this affecting your family? I even shared dialogue. I consulted with other counselors. What are some ways you can actually speak with your significant other to prepare them for the changes, get that dialogue going, because sometimes we don't know what to say.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So, yeah, it's so important. But so it's all leading up to that I'm just so excited. So as I was making these changes, one of the things I had always wanted to do is be a morning exerciser, because the reality is I have 2 small children, working full time. Now I had the blog, the side consulting job, all the stuff. There is 99% chance I am not going to exercise when I get home. Come on. You can tell yourself in that morning, I'll do it tonight. It's your brain doesn't even trust you anymore. That's not going to happen. It's like you say it and you're like, that thought just goes in and out, because it's not even going to happen. So I've always wanted to be a morning exerciser. And so I started social media to hold myself accountable.
I love it.
I'm 43. I didn't have social media until this year, but it's because of my morning routine. Like, I was on a roll. I felt like I'm growing in all these ways. Let's see if I can do this. What else can I do? And I was really struggling with, some days my husband travels, and on those days, that would mean I have to get up 45 minutes earlier, because then I would be responsible for getting the kids up and going. That would mean my alarm goes off at 4:20 a.m. And so I had 2 choices. Oh, well, I just don't have to do it those days. And if I don't do it those days, that bleeds into, well, then I don't do it the next day either. And then I probably don't do it on, and then so it becomes this whole thing where I might do it twice a week and then not again for 3 weeks.
Right.
So I have that choice. It can be sporadic, or I can put my good big girl pants on and make this shit happen.
Yeah.
And make it a habit regardless. And so that's the impetus for social media. I was holding myself accountable. And if you go through my Instagram, you'll see the very, very beginning, I was posting twice, like before my workout in the morning. Holy hell, I feel awful. Okay, my eyes feel like they're bleeding. And then right after the workout, okay, it's done. And now I feel like I could climb Mount Everest.
Yes.
Like the endorphins from exercising, it like instantly comes over you.
Yeah. And
like
the win of you
Yes.
actually doing the thing that you said
Yes.
you were going to do. It's so powerful when we reinforce that, not just our lives, but there's something chemical that happens in our brain.
Absolutely.
That
Absolutely.
actually helps facilitate
Yes.
that. And just like you learned with the sugar, and I hope you guys are following this, like she went by sugar. And that alone, seeing that I can do this is opening up. She's writing books. She's got second jobs. And it's not that you started out looking at that. You started out to make a change, but that win just opened the door to go, I can do so much. I actually am capable of so much. So,
and like I was saying, you start to not even, your brain starts to not even believe you.
Mm-hmm.
And so as along this growth journey, as you're doing things for yourself, you do start to believe in yourself again. You do start to trust yourself. So when I was doing that in the morning, my brain was beginning to trust, like, oh, this is real. This is happening. Mm-hmm. I can do this, and when I started doing that, I did like a 7-week challenge with myself, because, they say a month, you can do a habit in a month, but I really wanted to push it and see if I could do it for 6-7 weeks. And it changed my life. It changed my life. Yeah. Those mornings when I was responsible for getting the kids up, Tanya, I had so much more patience. I have a 2-year-old. She is crazy. She is the sweetest thing in the world, but you don't know. It's like when I go in a room in the morning, it's like I'm all quiet and sweet because it's like waking a bear. You don't know what you're going to get. Right. So if I did not do that morning routine for myself, however I define it, for me, that means exercising, smoothie, packing my bag for work, getting lunch, all that stuff in a peaceful, slow, calm state.
Yes.
If I did not do that for myself, what I was finding was on the moments when I have my kids, I would snap at them. Mm-hmm. And I would not have as much patience. And this is not right, I would start their day off in a stressful manner. Right. And that's not fair to them.
Right.
That's not fair. I was not as good of a mother And that's not fair to them, because if you have children, you're responsible for how they start their day.
Yeah.
You're responsible for making sure they go off in an open, calm manner so that they can have a good day for themselves, because they're on their own growth journey too.
Right.
And I was shitting all over that by not taking care of myself. And that's not fair to them.
Right.
That's not fair to them.
And that's so important, because so often we especially in the mother world, we have this weird thing that it's so noble to give because we're mothers, and everything is my kids come first. And there's so many accolades for that. And I'm sorry, I absolutely subscribe to I come first, because if I come first, then I am the best for them.
Right.
And I know that's going to ruffle some feathers, but I'm telling you that we are the example. And so if we are giving of ourselves so much that we are losing ourselves, then that's exactly what we're teaching them how to do. If you think that our example of draining ourselves is going to be that they go, wow, my mother sacrificed so much. There may be that, but we're also teaching them that this is exactly how you should do it. Sacrifice yourself, run yourself to the end for everyone else, and put your own happiness last. And I love that you said that, because most people, especially, and again, this is everyone, kids or no kids, you wake up to the alarm, it's 5 minutes before you gotta go. You wake up in either survival mode or sometimes even chaos. Like, okay, I gotta get up, I'm running here, I'm running there. And nobody's meant to wake up this way. And if anybody saw one of our episodes with Dr. Soria, a functional medicine doctor, we talked about sleep. And she actually said that there's a hormonal response that happens. And a part of our body that when it wakes up is actually set to a specific biological clock that starts to regenerate, like our organs and all of these things. So when you're waking up in fight or flight mode and changing everything into your adrenal system, not only does it not feel nice, but you're actually wreaking clinical havoc on your body, guys. Like, I want you to really hear this right now. Not only is she able to fill her own cup, not only is she able to be there and support her kids in a different way when she's tending to herself first, but clinically, your body's healthier right now by waking up in that manner. Like, it's so powerful.
So many reasons. So many reasons. And then if we are sacrificing ourselves, like you said, there are so many accolades, but then that's how we find ourselves in that example we used at the very beginning. You might be happy with your kids, you might be happy with your marriage, you might be happy even with your job, but inside, what about you? You got nothing. And that's how you find yourself in that situation. But I'm very passionate about the idea that all empowerment and success starts in the morning. Because if you can, like we said, it's not going to happen at night. It's not. Let's be realistic. It's not. If you do it in the morning, it's like everything else is the icing on the cake. You have to be the cake. Be the cake. I'm going to put that on a t-shirt. So no one take that. No one take that. I'm going to trademark it. Be the cake. And you make that. I'm not going to go further with that analogy, but
you make the cake in the morning, first thing, sugar-free,
right? No sugar added, people. Right. But if you take care of it in the morning, then the rest is icing.
It's foundational. It is foundational. That's the thing. That's why starting in chaos and then trying to give yourself that meditation at 3 p.m. Yes, it would be nice, but isn't as helpful as it is to start your day that way.
And in one of the groups I ran to help women with morning routines, they noticed a huge difference. They protected that me time in the morning. They protected it. If they didn't get it, they were kind of angry. That's their time. And, people say, well, I'm not a morning person. I can't do that. Look, when I was a little girl, I was so crabby in the morning. I was the bear. I was the bear. My mom was just like I am doing with my daughter. She's like me. I can admit that. My mom used to say, oh, she took crabby pills this morning, which would only irritate me more, as a little kid. But you can do this. It's going to require a mindset shift. Your me time you have to have your me time first in the morning, because at night, all you're doing, you're not looking for me time. You're looking for zone out from your lifetime. And at that point, you're just giving yourself the crumbs that are left over from your day. You've got to give yourself the best. Why are you giving everybody else and everything the best? Your best is when you wake up ready to go for the world. Yes, you can become a morning person. No, you don't have to stay up until midnight watching The Office. Like, sometimes
Well, and
people
it's
do.
the story you tell yourself. If you're going to tell yourself that you're not a morning person, then you know what? You're right. We can't go beyond there. You're right.
Of course you can be.
But
yes.
and I always tell people, I'm not a marathon runner, but I can learn. Like,
Right.
I can learn.
That's a challenge. Sure.
It is a skill. It is. I hate marathons. I always use them as I'm never going to be running, guys, because I choose.
I know, for real.
Choose not to be, but I always use it as an example because I think people see that and they'll go, oh, like I want to do this big thing. And you've never done it. None of us, first of all, none of us are born marathon runners, okay? Right. It is a learned skill. So guess what? Waking up in the morning, it's the same thing. It's a learned skill. And the truth is we can do it for work. So there's an early meeting, we can do it if there's a flight. Imagine what it feels like when you actually do it. And the first thing you have to do is do something nice for yourself.
I know. It's your treat. It's your time. Yeah. It's your time. The first day of December the first weekday of December, I did my spin class in the morning at home. And I was like, oh, the class is almost over. Like, cause I knew I was going to have to transition into real world time. Right. But like, then as I'm pulling out of my garage, I'm like, let's rock this December. Yeah. Tanya, a year and a half ago, who says that stuff? Right. I wouldn't have felt that way, but now I feel like the sky is the limit. I am following my own spark to see where this takes me. Yeah. I have big goals. I'm going to start speaking about morning routines next year. I'm speaking about sugar in January. Like, it's all because these things help empower you to start making huge changes in your life so you can follow your own spark. That's what it is. Well,
and it's being an active participant. You could have, again, gone to some friends and say, man, this sugar thing. And I'm sure people are like, I know, right? It's so like, oh, I love it so much. And then you could all sit around and kind of eat your cake and laugh about it. And general society is going to say that's fine. Like, we get it. It's hard and it's tough and we can all sulk together. But there was something where you hit a place and said, this is not what I want. And that's that thing we talked about with the goals, finally realizing I don't want this, then moves us into the next step of, well, what do I want? And then how do I do that? And then when you do the one, you're like, I could do other stuff. And here you are now being an active participant of the life that you want. Not because there was something wrong, not because society chose it for you. You just said, I actually want to decide where my life goes. I want to decide what I do. There was nothing wrong. You're still doing your career. It wasn't like I needed to change something, but it opened up somewhere else. And I love you wrote, I believe it's somewhere in your bio that, doing the things you didn't even know that you wanted to do.
Exactly.
Giving yourself that space to find it and explore and go, wow, well, what else can I facilitate to live my life and live it in a way that I go, this is awesome. This is amazing. This is what I want. Right. And so I love that. Well, so as we're moving into here, I know you have a lot of specific steps, and I think that's something we'll get into. Let's first, we are getting towards the end here. So please tell everyone exactly where they can find you and what you have going on for them.
So my website is followyourspark.blog. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest at Follow Your Spark. And then upcoming, I will be having my first online course available in February, but this week when our show airs, I have a free masterclass that people can join on February 5th, 6th, and then the 12th. Those are free masterclasses about the 3 pillars of a successful morning routine. So we're going to do a deep dive into what are the pillars. Like, these are the 3 areas you have to tackle. I hear so much from my students. These are the things that trip them up. These are the pillars you have to have. So when this airs, you can go to my website, followyourspark.blog, and take that free masterclass to learn about those 3 pillars for sure.
Awesome, guys. Sure. Okay, so we will have that link for that under this and in all our places on our social media. So make sure you come and check that out. And so, Allison, the question I have now then is, what can I do and what is my assignment to really embrace this morning routine and really take the same steps that everyone can do to make this part of my life this week in real time?
Okay. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. You are going to do a 5-day snooze button challenge. Right. So it's not just about the snooze button. It's also about your nighttime routine, because if you don't have a solid nighttime routine, you're going to hit snooze.
Absolutely.
You're going to intend to hit it one time, and it's going to end up being 6 to 8 times. And then an hour goes by, and then you're freaking out and have 20 minutes to get out of the house. So that's what happens. That's what happens.
Absolutely.
So I sent you like a 10-page workbook.
Okay.
You're going to, and I share with you, what is my nighttime routine? You're going to create your own nighttime routine.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you like the steps to create it,
Mm-hmm.
give you some ideas of what could be included. And then I give you a cheat sheet of 10 different strategies to not hit snooze. So you're going to identify your nighttime strategy, your nighttime routine, pick out 3 snooze button strategies. And then for the 5 days, you're going to use those strategies, do your nighttime routine, and not hit snooze for the entire week, and see how that impacts you.
Love it. Okay. This is awesome. So this is, I think honestly, so now I'm a big morning person. I actually am a morning person. I love getting up early. I've been working without the snooze alarm for a long time, but the nighttime routine, I know I absolutely, and most people who follow me know, like this is a cornerstone of my beliefs as well, is that, good mornings start with smart evenings.
Yep.
But knowing it is only half the battle. And the truth is through this holidays and through the last kind of chaos of this last quarter, my routine has just fallen prey to life. And so I'm really excited about this, because this is the fire I need really to get it, get back into that routine. So thank you so much.
I'm excited.
Yes, me too. So, okay, guys, I have my assignment. If you want that fire, it starts with that first spark. So if you want to try the challenge with me, make sure to tag us at My Design Life Show and use the hashtag #NoSnooze. Get Allison's cheat sheet and start your journey now. So as always, I will keep you posted on how it goes at My Design Life Show on Facebook and Instagram. And you can always check out the website, mydesignlife.show. You can also follow me at Tanya MFK and learn all about our workshops, retreats, and programs at tanyamfk.com. If you like this episode and you'd like to see more, please click that subscribe button to be notified of our next show. Remember, your someday starts today. Make it the best. I'm Tanya MFK, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us at My Design Life. Catch us every other Monday at 3 p.m. EST. Follow us at Tanya MFK, My Design Life Show, United Intentions Foundation, and UI Media Network. Do you have methods, tips, or hacks to live your best life? Be a guest on our show. Contact us at mydesignlife.show to submit an application.